The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu, says security will be beefed up in all Galamsey areas to ensure positive results are achieved. Over 500 excavators used for illegal mining have been retrieved across the country. This is in response to a 3-week ultimatum given to operators to halt their activities.
The team made whistle stops in several communities, including Akaten, Kobreso in the Upper West Achim, Penaman in the Denchambua district, and Mosiaso in the Tiwa district. Operators were not on site and the excavators were parked. Some operators had also reclaimed land they had worked on. It was evident that illegal activity is impacting negatively on the environment.
If you visit our area, you will see how polluted the water is. It is so pathetic and disturbing.
20 excavators were withdrawn from Achim Oda, 120 from Asankregwa, 20 from Asenfosu, and again 120 from Bibiani. 200 were also picked from Dunkwao, 25 from Konongo, and 40 from Takwa. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, John Peter Amewu, pointed out security will be beefed up in all the Galamsey areas to ensure positive results are achieved.
Some of the chiefs, it's not all of them who have connived in this exercise. There are some of them that are actually fighting. I know some chiefs who report all the time about illegalities.
The withdrawal of these machines, they are not surrendering it to us. But the good thing is that they have actually realized the importance of the directive. We need to sustain this. As human and as Ghanaians, as we all believe, their thinking might be, in the next 3-4 weeks, we'll go back to the site. And that is why education is very important.
Right, let's have a chat. Yumano Enchi is the Deputy Director of Operations of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners. Is here in the studio with me. Good evening, sir, and thank you very much for coming. I know that your association, I want to ask you how you're taking this whole initiative by government to clamp down on small-scale mining, illegal small-scale mining.
Yes, thank you. I would want to correct some impression. The association is in support of the government's initiative.
Okay.
And with these 500 excavators, our monitoring task force actually went round. If you could recall, we did a press conference about 2 weeks ago at the Cultural Center, Kumasi. And then we told members to invite Galamsey leaders and some of the operators to come for the press conference. So that is where we started the engagement. And then we told them that, look, what is happening across the country is good for the country. And therefore, it is very important that we all come on board. We actually made sure that they bought into the idea that it is not proper to do illegal mining or Galamsey, but rather we should wait for what the minister is saying, the holistic plan, where they would explore areas and then determine the amount of
Do you know the plan? I mean, what I need to get from you is whether you know government's plan and whether government is working with you towards implementing a specific plan.
Yes, the first meeting that we had, we were part of that meeting. And then subsequently, we don't know the details of the plan, but we know that the plan, the summary of the plan is, first, they will look at areas where we can explore and have high mineralization. And then 2, they will license members to go in there, Galamsey operators, to go in there and then work in environmental care manner. And then the 3rd one, those who are not lucky enough to get places will be given alternative livelihood. And this is a very...
What forms of alternative livelihoods? Somebody who has depended on gold for half of his life, you want to say alternative, like go and farm cassava or plantain? That's going to be a low blow for many of your members, and I suspect that this is what's going to lead to resistance from your members. You don't think so?
Well, with our members, we are not part of this ban. Our members are legal small-scale miners who are operating legally.
So your members are not afraid of losing their livelihoods?
No, we are not part of this particular ban.
Okay.
It is the Galamsey operators. And then, yes, I do realize, or we know, that, I mean, somebody who has depended on gold, to be difficult to give an alternative livelihood. But it's all about education and sensitization. I said that we've made sure that majority of them have bought into the idea that, hey, look, what are we losing as a nation when you're doing Galamsey and then it's not regulated? So it's more or less like the person has bought into the idea. Now the person is making the idea his own. That, look, if I'm doing this and the government want to make sure that I rather do it in a more sustainable manner.
You sound very confident of what you're saying. Is that the situation on the ground among your members, or this is just what you're hoping will exist?
Well, with our interactions with the...
That's the feedback you're getting.
That's the feedback we are getting.
Okay.
I mean, the dredges on the river bodies that our task force went around chasing them off, and then the excavators that those who brought from the forest and other illegal mining areas. In fact, it's a whole lot of method that we are using where we just want them to buy into the idea that, look, this thing is not helping anybody. This thing has potential danger, because most of the Galamsey operators are residents of the communities. And so it is very important that they get to know the aftermath effects of what they are doing, and that if the government is determined enough to make sure that we explore areas where mineralization is high and then license groups and individuals to go in there and mine, I think it's a very wonderful idea. And they welcome it. But then my caution here is that we should move fast as a nation, because the number of people who have moved from the Galamsey site is overwhelming. And if we are not careful, it might create other socioeconomic problems.
Like armed robbery?
Like armed robbery.
Like social violence, a lot of them drugs.
Exactly. This is not scientific, but if we recall, I stand to be corrected though, but for some time now, it looks like the spate of armed robbery has gone down. I don't know, but it looks like that. And I strongly believe that this is linked with the boom that happened at Bandam Kwanta, where a lot of illegal operators moved there, and I mean, between that period and now, and then looking at the incidents of armed robbery, it has actually gone down.
What are you suggesting? Because government is working with your group, your association of legal small-scale miners to flush out illegal small-scale, illegal operators, Galamsey operators. Now, the ripple effect you're telling me about is scary. And what would you suggest government do to ensure that, one, the fight against Galamsey still continues, the alternative livelihoods for these people who are kicked out from their income also persist? What suggestions do you have?
Yes, I mean, most of the discussion will be having it on that level with the ministry. However, what we suggest to the ministry is to move very fast, because these are people's livelihood. This is what they depend on. And so they should move very fast. Areas that they know of the values, quickly they should do whatever that can be done, and quickly we start facing off the people. And then we should also continue identifying these illegal miners, making sure where they are located and all that is very important and key. And then also engaging them consistently through education and sensitization, and then what the minister is doing or the ministry is doing, so that at the end of the day, they are all part of the change movement. Once we do it this way, I believe that every sensible Ghanaian who is involved in illegal mining can just be part of the movement,
the negative effect
and then
will be minimized.
we minimize the negative
right.
effects.
Mr. Yerenchi Entry, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is still News at 10. We're live on TV3 and also live on 3FM 92.7, as well as our affiliates across the country. Away from that, the First Lady, Rebecca Ekufuado, has called for substantial investment in the earlier stages of children's education. She was speaking at the opening of this year's World Organization for Early Childhood Education and Care Conference in Accra.
The objective of the World Organization for Early Childhood Education and Care is to gather people who work with or for young children, do research on the subject of early childhood. It provides a meeting grounds for representatives of different professions and different national groups from all over the world. This year, the OMEP Regional Conference will focus on the Sustainable Development Goals 4 and 7. OMEP World President Dr. Park advocated for teachers to be given opportunities to build their capacity. The First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, emphasized the need to make substantial investment in education.
We need to invest in the earliest stages of education. We need to invest in quality infrastructure. Teachers should be equipped with tools that help them and their pupils acquire knowledge. Learning and play should be safe for our kids.
She acknowledged the role of the public sector in quality education delivery.
The public sector cannot provide all this alone. Technical expertise, knowledge, resources, and support is needed from the private sector and global development partners as we work towards new goals and solutions.
The OMEP conference is expected to end on April 21.
And the medical doctor who examined the victim of the alleged pepper attack by the branch manager of Mawako restaurant, Matilda Madiwa Ada, told the court the victim suffered from an inflammation of the wide part of her eyes. She confirmed to the court the victim reported at the Achimota hospital traumatized.
According to the medical report, the victim's eyes were dried and was advised to wear sunglasses until her condition normalized. During cross-examination by the lead counsel for the accused, Julio de Medeiros, Dr. Ada confirmed the condition suffered by the victim could have been caused by pepper, but it is not only limited to it. She added that the eye infection suffered by the victim could not have been caused by a mere rubbing of the eye. She said an external element would have had to make contact with the eye before one could suffer such an inflammation. Meanwhile, lawyers of the accused, Jihad Chaban, after the cross-examination, indicated they will file a submission of no case. Jihad Chaban is alleged to have dipped Evelyn Boache, a caterer at the restaurant's face, into blended pepper and locked up for hours. He had pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of assault, offensive conduct, and causing harm. The defense lawyers will on April 26, the adjourned date, make an oral submission of their submission of no case application.
And that's it for News at 10. We came to you live from the News Hub. And thanks for those of you who listen to us on 3FM 92.7. I'm Stephen Enti. On behalf of the crew here, good night.